Rome. Picture a vast city sprawling across 7 hills. Marble columns rise into the sky. The bustle of 1,000,000 souls fills the air. This is Rome at its height, a beacon of civilization in a world of chaos. But like all great powers, Rome had humble beginnings. The story of Rome is one of ambition, conquest, and innovation, from a small village on the Tiber to an empire that stretched across 3 continents. Rome's influence shaped the world we know today. Its laws, language, and culture echo through the centuries. Even now, we feel the weight of Roman history in our daily lives. The answers lie in a complex tapestry of events, personalities, and societal shifts. It's a story of triumphs and tragedies, of visionaries and tyrants. So let's begin our journey through time, back to the misty origins of Rome, where legend and history intertwine. Every great civilization has its founding myth. Rome is no exception. The story of Romulus and Remus is etched into the Roman psyche. It's a tale of divine intervention, human cruelty, and ultimate triumph. The legend begins with 2 twin brothers, abandoned at birth. They are the sons of Mars, the god of war, and a mortal priestess. Cast adrift on the Tiber River, the infants seem doomed. But fate has other plans. A she-wolf finds the babies and nurses them. Later, a shepherd discovers the boys and raises them as his own. The twins grow into strong young men, natural leaders. They decide to found a city on the spot where the wolf saved them, but disagreement leads to tragedy. Romulus and Remus argue over where to build their city. Romulus favors the Palatine Hill. Remus prefers the Aventine. They agree to let the gods decide through augury. Romulus sees more auspicious signs and begins to build. Remus, bitter and jealous, mocks his brother's efforts. He leaps over the new city's walls, taunting Romulus. In a rage, Romulus kills his twin. With this act of fratricide, Rome is born. Rome's early years were marked by constant struggle. The fledgling city had to fight for its very survival. Neighboring tribes posed constant threats, but the Romans were nothing if not tenacious. They fought, they adapted, and they grew stronger. By the 4th century BCE, Rome had become a significant power in central Italy, but their greatest challenge was yet to come. The Samnites were a confederation of tribes from the Apennine Mountains. They were fierce warriors, proud and independent. As Rome expanded, conflict with the Samnites became inevitable. The First Samnite War broke out in 343 BCE. It was a relatively short conflict, ending in Rome's favor. The Second Samnite War from 326 to 304 BCE was a much more serious affair. The Samnites, led by the brilliant general Gavius Pontius, inflicted a humiliating defeat on the Romans. At the Caudine Forks, they forced an entire Roman army to pass under the yoke. This was a ritual of abject surrender. The Third Samnite War from 298 to 290 BCE saw Rome finally triumph. Rome was now the dominant power in Italy. As Rome grew in power, its political system evolved. The early monarchy gave way to the Republic around 509 BCE. This new system was designed to prevent any one person from gaining too much power. It was based on a delicate balance of institutions and traditions. At its heart were the principles of checks and balances. The highest offices in the Republic were the consuls. 2 were elected each year to share power. They commanded the army and presided over the Senate. The Senate itself was a body of elder statesmen. They advised the consuls and managed state finances. But real power lay with the people, at least in theory. The popular assemblies elected magistrates and voted on laws. This system worked remarkably well for centuries. It allowed Rome to harness the talents of its best citizens. Men of ability could rise to the top through public service. The cursus honorum, or ladder of offices, provided a clear path for ambitious Romans. They would start as junior magistrates and work their way up to consul. This meritocratic system produced many great leaders, but the Republic was not without its flaws. By the 3rd century BCE, Rome dominated Italy, but across the Mediterranean another power was on the rise. Carthage, a Phoenician colony in North Africa, controlled a vast maritime empire. Conflict between these 2 expanding powers was inevitable. The result was the Punic Wars, a series of conflicts that would shape the ancient world. The First Punic War, from 264 to 241 BCE, was mainly a naval conflict. Rome, traditionally a land power, had to quickly build a fleet. They innovated, creating the corvus, a boarding bridge. This allowed them to turn sea battles into infantry engagements. After a long struggle, Rome emerged victorious. They gained control of Sicily, their first province outside Italy. But it was the Second Punic War from 218 to 201 BCE that truly tested Rome. This conflict is synonymous with one name, Hannibal. The Carthaginian general was a military genius. He hatched an audacious plan to invade Italy by land. Hannibal led his army, including war elephants, across the Alps. Hannibal's invasion brought Rome to the brink of defeat. The war finally ended with Hannibal's defeat at Zama in 202 BCE. As Rome's power grew, so did its internal tensions. The old republican system struggled to govern a vast empire. Enter Gaius Julius Caesar, a man who would alter Roman history. His military campaigns in Gaul brought him fame and wealth. He conquered vast territories, adding them to Rome's empire, but his success made him enemies in Rome. The Senate, led by Pompey, saw Caesar as a threat. In 49 BCE, he crossed the Rubicon River with his legion. This act sparked a civil war. Caesar emerged victorious and returned to Rome as the most powerful man. On the Ides of March 44 BCE, a group of senators assassinated Caesar. His adopted son Octavian became Augustus, Rome's first emperor. From the ashes of the Republic rose a new political order. Octavian, now known as Augustus, became Rome's first emperor in 27 BCE. He was clever and ruthless. Augustus understood that Romans were tired of civil war. They wanted peace and stability. He gave them both while carefully disguising his absolute power. Augustus called himself princeps, or first citizen. He claimed to have restored the Republic. In reality, he had created a new system, the Principate. The Senate still met, consuls were still elected. But real power lay with Augustus. He controlled the army and held key religious positions. His word was law, even if he pretended otherwise. The reign of Augustus ushered in a period known as the Pax Romana. This Roman peace lasted for nearly 2 centuries. It was an era of unprecedented stability and prosperity. Trade flourished across the empire. New cities were built and old ones expanded. Roman culture spread to the farthest corners of the known world. Augustus was a great patron of the arts. The Pax Romana set the stage for Rome's greatest period of power and influence. Rome's power and wealth were reflected in its architecture. The Romans were master builders. They created structures that have stood the test of time. Many of these buildings still inspire awe today. Roman architecture was both beautiful and practical. It combined aesthetics with function in a way that was uniquely Roman. The Colosseum stands as perhaps the most iconic Roman structure. Built in the 1st century CE, it could hold up to 50,000 spectators. It was a marvel of engineering. Its design allowed it to be filled or emptied quickly. Elaborate underground mechanisms could raise animals or scenery into the arena. The Colosseum hosted gladiatorial contests, animal hunts, and even mock sea battles. Another masterpiece of Roman architecture was the Pantheon. Built during the reign of Hadrian, it remains the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome. Its perfect proportions and innovative design have influenced architects for centuries. Roman architecture wasn't just about grand public buildings. Aqueducts brought fresh water to cities from miles away. The legacy of Roman architecture can be seen in buildings around the world. At its height, the Roman Empire was the largest state the ancient Mediterranean world had ever seen. It stretched from Britain in the west to the Euphrates River in the east, from the Rhine and Danube in the north to the Sahara Desert in the south. This vast territory encompassed a diverse array of peoples, cultures, and landscapes. Governing such an empire presented enormous challenges. The Romans developed a sophisticated system of provincial administration. Governors were sent out from Rome to oversee far-flung territories. They were supported by a bureaucracy of officials and tax collectors. The army played a crucial role in maintaining order and defending the frontiers. But size brought its own problems. Communication across such vast distances was slow. It could take weeks or months for news to travel from the frontiers to Rome. The empire's very success also created issues. As Rome grew richer, it became a tempting target for outside invaders. The long frontiers were constantly under pressure from Germanic tribes and the Persian Empire. These internal and external pressures would eventually contribute to the empire's decline. By the 3rd century CE, the Roman Empire was facing serious challenges. A series of weak emperors and civil wars had weakened the state. The economy was in crisis, plagued by inflation and heavy taxation. The frontiers were under increasing pressure from barbarian invasions. It seemed as if the empire might collapse entirely. Enter Diocletian, a tough soldier who became emperor in 284 CE. He realized that the empire had grown too large for one man to rule effectively. His solution was the tetrarchy, or rule of 4. He divided the empire into eastern and western halves. Each half would be ruled by an Augustus, senior emperor, and a Caesar, junior emperor. Diocletian's reforms brought temporary stability. He reorganized the provinces and reformed the tax system. But his system of shared rule didn't last long after his retirement. Civil wars soon erupted again. Constantine emerged as the sole ruler in 324 CE. He made two decisions that would have far-reaching consequences. The western half, including Rome itself, began a long decline.